Tonight, in the world's deadliest gangs, we're based right here in my own backyard. In the 1960s, bloody battles were fought right here in these streets. On a world scale, only the Mafia received this much attention. And only the Mafia have been glamorised as much as this lot. The Firm.
On tonight's show, we go on the street with the gun-toting, dodgy Dave Courtney.
What we have here is an array of all different weapons.
We hear from the man who shot more gangsters than any other. But first, we go undercover in the East End for the story of the Firm. The streets of London have always been a breeding ground for crime. Murder and drugs, sawn-offs and bank jobs, extortion and knuckle dusters. Much of this crime has been carried out by some of the most brutal and vicious of gangs. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you The Firm.
A firm is a family.
It's a thing that you can't, you could be a millionaire and you couldn't buy your way into it.
Everybody knows somebody who can do something.
It's a unique type of army.
If it was in medieval times, they'd be the kind of knights of the round table or something.
If you're firmed up and you're the top firm in your manor, you're going to do what the fuck you want to do.
Born out of the East End of London, the Firm are now a global force. But the days of one firm controlling all of London are long gone.
Really, there is one big firm in London, right? One big firm. But not everybody belongs to that big firm. There's all your little splinter groups.
It's different families, different bosses all across this country. And not all of them work together or know each other. Small units, and then maybe some contact with other firms if they want to do business elsewhere.
4 of you can be a little firm that go out on the pavement doing bits and pieces. Or your firm could actually grow and there'd be 500 of you.
It's a business, it's an organisation that is efficiently run and is controlled generally by a godfather-type figure.
The head of the firm looks at his firm as his babies and would do anything he possibly could to help them, save them, you know, not just in the punch-up, I'll help you in a row because you're part of the firm, you know, you've got to help pay his mortgage when he's in prison, you've got to, you know, they are your family.
And family provided the key for uniting much of London's underworld into one big firm in the late 50s.
Yeah, the Cray firm, I think, were quite unique. It was controlled by Ron and Reg Cray. They had this sort of aura about them. This was actually carried and used by the Crays and members of the firm. Looks very simple, but it's solid lead. I know where this actually came from. Definitely a member of the firm's. This was actually used to batter somebody across the head. That particular guy ended up in a river, dead. They were to Britain what Al Capone was to America, up until their arrest by the famous Nipper Reid. You will never ever see a firm like the Crays ever again in London.
Although both of the Crays are now dead, the legacy of the family lives on.
It's right to say that there are still family groups within organised crime activity. They've just learnt to work globally. Just as I suspect if the Crays were still in business, they would be working globally.
The firm's activities have changed as well. They've got wise and moved to where the money is.
30 years ago, if you just smelt someone having a puff, you'd go, oh, junkie, you know, it's the same as having a puff is the same as injecting heroin in the eye, you know, drugs are drugs are drugs are drugs. But I'm afraid raving is over here, and we have a very big drug culture in this country, and the financial reward for being involved in drugs are millions.
The move into drugs has seen a migration further out east into Essex. One ex-member of a Romford-based firm is author Bernard O'Mahony.
It's surrounded by ports, Harwich and places like that, so drugs can be imported. It's great access for motorways. You can get anywhere from down there. And there was this big influx of people from the East End.
Bernard is a surviving member of the Essex Boys firm who hit the headlines when 3 of the gang leaders had a close encounter with a shotgun.
The men have been named as Patrick Tate, Craig Rolfe, both convicted robbers, and Tony Tucker, a minder for the boxer Nigel Benn. Detectives believe they were victims of gang warfare.
So they were lured to a deserted farm track in Rettendon, which is a small village just outside Basildon, on the pretence of an aeroplane landing, which they were going to rob. There was a fella waiting in the bushes with a pump-action shotgun. They pulled up at the gate, the fella come out of the bushes, blasted Rolf in the back of the head, shot Tucker in the face, side of the face, and shot Tatey in the side. Reloaded, shot Rolf again in the back of the head, Tony again in the face, shot Tatey in the head, reloaded again, shot Tony in the head and shot Tatey again. And I've seen the photos, they're horrific, absolutely horrific. They're unrecognisable. There was a real message in them killings.
Getting the message across through violence has ensured the survival of the firms for the last 50 years, and perhaps even longer.
I don't think the firms in London or around other parts of the country would die out. The old school will always be looked upon as godfather-like figures. They have become legends, and I think they're immortalised by a lot of the youngsters today that have entered into the world of crime.
Still to come, Dodgy Dave Courtney's Guide to Crime. Gang Style. See how the firm have influenced the world of fashion. But first we go on the street. Getting into the firm is notoriously difficult. Photographer Jocelyn Bain-Hogg was given access for 2 years as he set about documenting the gang for his book, The Firm. Joss risked his own personal safety to capture these images. He got lucky, and his photos managed to capture the firm in business.
Firm's a documentary picture story on the lives of some of the British underworld. It's real life as lived. There's nothing glamorising about it.
Although London is the centre of the firm's activity, some work is subcontracted out to the regions. Joss spent 6 months with one outfit in Wales. Bernie Davis is an associate of the firm. He is also one of the main characters in Joss's book.
One of the reasons for photographing Bernie and including him in this book is that every town in the country has a firm of sorts. And obviously I couldn't do all of them, but being half Welsh, it seemed a good idea to go down to the valleys. Most of them are ex-miners, and of course there's very little work and very little of anything down there. And Bernie, in some ways, acts as a sheriff. He sort of keeps an eye on the community in a strange kind of way. He's a very valued member down there.
We caught up with Bernie at the Crime Through Time Museum in Gloucestershire, where he took us through some of the exhibits.
Okay, here we've got a little selection of the basic tools of the trade. Knuckle duster, one of my favourite instruments. It does a lot of damage when you catch someone tidy. Run-of-the-mill police issue. Good enough for the boys in blue, it's good enough for me. This has got a map, reading light on. Plus the blade, of course. To be the firm, to be one of the chaps is an honour that's not bestowed on many people, and I'm glad that I got that far in life to have the privilege of wearing a tattoo like that. But if I seen anyone else with a tattoo like that, I cut it off them with a Stanley knife, like, no problem, because they haven't earned it. Nice little flick knife. If you're all booted and suited up and you've got your suit and tie on and you've got this in your top pocket, you can actually write with it, everything works on it. And if you need to use it as a tool, it comes out, and if you've got to do the biz.
Bernie's devotion to the firm led him to becoming close friends of the Krays.
I've got a craze on my leg because I got maximum respect for them brothers, and I used to visit Reg very often in Maidstone prison years ago, and he all got maximum respect from Anyone to do with the underworld, their hierarchy, they're the top.
Here's the old CS. This is not only handy on humans, this is handy on dogs. I've been in some situations, people have had Rottweilers, Dobermans, all sorts. One spray of this and they turn into dying flies. The old stun gun. Pretty effective if you want someone to do a bit of breakdancing sharp, stick this on them and it away. Gets rid of all known germs. We've obviously got far more advanced tools of the trade than these, but I'm not in a position to talk about them.
The life of a Welsh gangster lacks the glamour and hedonism of a typical Londoner, as Bain Hogg found out when he made his book.
This was a casting for a movie. No prizes for guessing what kind of movie. Now, this is Dave Courtney's story. Dave is somebody described him as a postmodern gangster. And this is just Dave out and about in Soho. In fact, this was one of the first pictures I ever took of him, asking directions from a copper. He gave a talk at the Oxford Union to the future leaders of this country who were asking him what it's like to kill people. Another one of Dave's nights out. I wasn't trying to do anything that they couldn't see me doing. There's nothing covert about it. It wouldn't have worked otherwise. Charlie Crow's funeral. One of the bigger events that I went to. In fact, I think the biggest event. If you look at this picture, you can just see how many thousands of people there were there. Reggie handcuffed to his woman police officer. The last time he was let out to his brother's funeral. Being a villain, you make a lot of money and you spend it. If that's glamorous, then that's what it is. It's a lot of parties and a lot of nightclubbing. Lots of money one minute and none the next. And life is not necessarily long.
More tales from the gangland after the break, including dress codes, branding and gang warfare. Remember, dead men don't tell lies. Welcome back to the world's deadliest gangs. Tonight we're in the land of the Barra Boys, jellied eels, concrete shoes, and of course some of Britain's most feared criminals. The East End has a great history of supplying us with great gangsters, from the craze from the 60s to the Essex boys of today. This is working class London, where image is everything.
From the long Good Friday to Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels, the gangsters of East London have long been mainstays of British cinema and fashion icons for the glitterati. From the humble surroundings of run-down terrace streets and tower blocks, a young gangster must learn the first rule of the underworld. Dress and act like you're absolutely loaded.
It's interesting to look at the different gangs to see that some have gone for the rough and ready look and some have gone for the Reservoir Dog suit look. It's a great way of showing success.
But the sharp suit isn't very practical when it comes to the gangster's day-to-day business, where he may have to get physical.
Interesting irony that rough, tough guys who are engaged in activities which you would have thought would be spoiling their perfectly pressed suits will time and time again be wearing clothes that look like they've never gotten their hands dirty.
The typical gangster will really go to town on his appearance, from gleaming shoes and freshly pressed suits to expensive chunky gold jewellery.
It's quite unusual for most men to pay this attention to detail to what they wear, unless they're in the military, where they have to exercise a lot of precision and care over their uniforms. So what you're really seeing on a gangster wearing a suit is a kind of gangster's uniform.
This sort of uniform has a great history. It shares connections with the Sicilian Mafia, the gangsters of 1930s Chicago, and the Triads. But it was 1960s London when the uniform first made big news in Britain.
If you go back to the firm of the Craig's Times, the Richardsons, etc., etc. Now these people were, they were businessmen predominantly. They didn't go out terrorising East End folk or stuff like that just to be big and hard. They'd buy a shop and they'd open credit with all their creditors. They'd get a whole load of stuff in for free, pack it up, sell it and move. And all their creditors are stuck. Now that's a business. They're running a business. Their protection racket wasn't done to give it large or to say, look at me, I'm a top fella. It was a business.
Nowadays, people say this has changed. Not only are gangsters more difficult to recognise, they're also meaner, harder, and the business even murkier. Dodgy Dave Courtney has been called many things. The Bermondsey Boy, the Yellow Pages of Crime, and the People's Villain. These days he's gone legit, and he's taken time out to drive us around in his roller.
Here we are, cruising through what I would consider my manor, if I had one, London. And I'm going to show you a few bits of historical importance to me. Right? It should be of interest to you. Starting off with the Old Bailey. The Old Bailey, the scales of justice. Last time I took this journey, I was in the back of a meat wagon going from Belmar Special Unit, where I had a 9 weeks case at the Old Bailey but got not guilty. It's a much more pleasant one today, with you little lot. Now the word gangster, right, the word gangster actually conjures up a load of pictures, this being in most of them, right, the old James Cagney, Cap of the World, right, but this is as old-fashioned as the word, right, there is no more gangsters and there's no more of these either. Right. What we have here is an array of all different weapons. This is most probably the gangster's favourite, right? This is the armed robber's favourite. This is the pump action shotgun, right? This is the one that just looks so good in the films, you know. Dirty rat. Right, these are normally sawed down and make a really effective weapon if you're a bad shot. The British gangster fraternity was second to none, you know. It was. They got the Costa Nostra, you know, you don't say nothing, and England was like the bulldog thing, grasses should get shot, you know. And it was a very close shop kind of thing and enviable. It had class, it had an air of class, it had an air of honour, it had a military run to it, you know, and it was like the working men's Freemasons to actually be a criminal. Just after the war, you wouldn't be surprising to have a load of people with these in their house, right? The gun laws weren't so wasn't so fierce. Well, we'd just come out of a war when everyone should have a gun. And so an awful lot of people came back with souvenirs, and there's a lot of these hanging around. Well, it's a very, very tasty little thing. It's old, but it's scary, right? And a lot of the problem with these new weapons is they're so nice and slick and that, when they're actually being pointed at you, they don't look that scary. You know, you're looking at an 150-pound shotgun with 2 big holes. You can't take your eyes away from the holes, right? It's going to cut me in half. Bermondsey, the criminal Riviera. These are coming over in great abundance, right? Automatics. I'm not a great lover of the automatic, right? It's a little bit more accurate. It's you can get a lot more magazines in the, a lot more rounds in the magazine, but it can go wrong, right? An automatic can jam, and there's never a time in your life when you can afford a gun to jam, whether it be you're robbing something or shooting, right? There's never a time when you can afford to go. A revolver, although a little bit dinosaur, right? Every time you pull that trigger, something hot and sharp comes out the end. It never ever jams, so I'd rather have 6 shots that I knew were definitely coming out than 11 that it might jam. The romance around the gangster is the same as the romance around cowboys, pirates and knights in shining armour. There is no more. Don't be on the tail end of it and pay for it. You should be prepared to do the bird that your choice of weapon carries, i.e. I know people that walk around 24/7, right, with these, okay? Now, they just get into a habit of carrying it around, and they bring this out into the London nightclub scene. And if, for instance, my car rolled forward and I bumped into someone's bumper and it was his new car and he jumped out of his car and he come and dragged my door open and started beating the living daylights out of me, if I had that in my pocket, I would actually go, and get 15 years because of his bumper. Right? In the last 20 years, the growth of technology has been so fast. Right? You know, like we've gone from not having telly to colour tellies to videos to camcorders to mobile phones. You know, it's gone so in the last 20 years, and we are trying to judge crime 20 years and 30 years ago to crime now and try to put some comparisons. Well, it was a completely different world, and you cannot make comparisons. This is the nuts, right? Please believe me, you almost feel when you're actually in a route, holding one of these, swinging it back, doing a business, that you could bounce bullets off, right? It's a proper little tool here, a baseball bat, and it's become as famous as the old Tommy gun. You know, the baseball bat is a naughty boys thing. You know what I mean? It's a naughty boys thing. Well, there you go. A day in the life of, right? Hope you had a nice day. What's up?
The firm made its name in the 1960s with the East End businesses set up by Ronnie and Reggie Cray. Their legacy lives on in the form of modern-day gangsters like Dodgy Dave Courtney. The firm of the past and present are one of the world's deadliest gangs.
Well, that's all we've got time for on the world's deadliest gangs. If you're worried about organised crime and gang warfare, remember, I can't help you, pal. I've got to get out of here. Later. Bank robbery, money, and the most feared of all. Or Gangchester.
Fucking come on in, eh?
Kidnapping. Power. Firm. The Yardies. If you have any trouble with organised crime, yeah? Call 1-800 Big Tony. Very naughty. The world's most dangerous cities. The Hell's Angels. The drugs cartel. The Bloods, the Crips. Hijacking and murder. The world's deadliest gangs.